So the photo you're looking at was taken in 2016. It looks pretty incredible. It was perfectly framed, perfectly timed, and it won a competition held by Nikon at the time. It was selected amongst hundreds of entries. But here's the problem. It's fake. The guy that submitted the photo added the plane into the composition. Now, the internet quickly realised that and got pretty angry at not just the photographer, but at Nikon for not realising that their winning entry had been manipulated. See, as soon as you play around with the brightness and the contrast, you quickly realise that this was just a crudely and quickly edited photo. This brings me to my question to you, really. Is it acceptable to edit an image? And if it is acceptable, what rules do we apply and how far can you push it before an edited image is art? Or how far can you push it until that image doesn't necessarily represent what was taken by the camera? What are our expectations and how has that evolved over time as well? I mean, the thing is for me is I kind of expect every image that I see on the internet to be edited in some way, whether that be the colour and the tone amended, and if we shoot in RAW, we're going to be applying our own colour grading and styling to something, aren't we? So is that acceptable? I think that is. But is it acceptable to add elements and remove elements? Is it acceptable to change the tone and the feeling of an image? Okay, so here's an example. From time to time, I will get a company email me and they'll say, hey, we've got a product, do you want to check it out? And normally I'll say, yeah, if it's something I'm interested in or could see myself using or buying. And the other week, the guys from a company called Cookie Dough, they make edible cookie dough, got in contact. And they said, yeah, do you want to check out some edible cookie dough? So of course I said yes, because I'm not an idiot. And I thought to myself, how can I present an image? How can I make a nice little social post or something like that of the products that they've sent me and make it fun and make it engaging? And how can I make the product they've sent me, look good on social media, on my Instagram? So I took this photo. Now, looking at this photo, for me, I guess I took it and I've worked on it, so I know it's edited. But I think you can tell it's been edited, right? You can tell that there's lots of different elements going on. You can see all the sprinkles, you can see the pots flying, you can see me in the background. You know that's been edited, do you, or don't you? I know that, and I think that it's acceptable that that's been edited, and I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that because I think my expectations are that this is an edited image. What do you think? Do you really care that I've edited this image? And do you accept that within product photography, for example, that images are going to be edited? I mean, you only have to look at a menu at McDonald's or a fast food chain and see a burger, and you know that the burger that you get is not going to look like that burger. You know that that's been done in a studio and they used all these little tricks to try and make it look a bit nicer. You know your expectation versus reality is going to be different, but you accept that. That's okay. I mean, you don't walk up to the counter and then complain that your burger, your Big Mac doesn't look like the Big Mac on the photo. You accept that. You know that there is going to be an element of editing, of manipulation within a photo in that sort of setting. So is it acceptable for me to then edit this photo and to make this cookie dough look more engaging and more fun within this photo? I think you're going to say yes. I mean, tell me comments down below, but I think you're going to say yes. And if the answer is yes, then how does that differ from the guy adding the photo, the plane within the photo. If it's acceptable for me, why is it not acceptable for him? Is it because our expectations are different? So you expect a picture of a product, for example, to be edited. So it's okay and it's acceptable, but you don't expect it within a photo like that? Or is it how the photographer or the company has portrayed that image to you? Is it simply that if they make it clear that this is an illustration or a representation of something, that edit is suddenly okay? Now, I know lots of landscape photographers that will often and always manipulate and edit their images. It could be a tree branch coming in, or it could be I don't know, maybe they've taken some photos of some really calm water and there's a beach or something in front of it and there's a rock and maybe it's distracting or something and they've just removed it. And nobody says anything. They put up their work and people will accept it for what it is. But nobody really ever complains that these photos are edited. And a lot of the time, they are edited. So where do we set? If we're applying the same rules to one person, we should be applying them to all people. Or is that just an outdated way of looking at things that don't really apply? Because nobody really cares when it comes to landscape photography, as long as you're not going extreme and completely swapping out a sky and adding a giraffe or something like that behind a mountain. That's okay, that's acceptable. So as long as you're not going crazy when it comes to these things, is it okay? This is a thing that I see every single day on social media, on Facebook groups and things, and I'm in a load of Fuji groups, for example, and people often editing things and adding things and removing things, and sometimes you can tell and sometimes you've got an inkling, and sometimes you hope that they would just explain it a bit more. Sometimes they're expected and sometimes they're accepted, and not often people ever really call people out on these things. So is it, I don't know, what are your thoughts? I kind of think, my opinion is that when it comes to product shots and when it comes to something that could be described as art, it's okay to manipulate or edit an image. I think if you're trying to I think if you're trying to show a narrative, to tell a story or to document something, I think if the thing that you're taking a photo of is supposed to be real life or supposed to be accurate to that thing that you've taken a photo of, then you shouldn't really be adding or removing things or manipulating things. But then over above all of that, I think you are allowed and you've got free reign to manipulate things like colours and the tone of an image. I think that's okay. The reason why I think that's okay is because, when you take a photo on your smartphone or a camera in JPEG or something like that, the camera, your phone is manipulating, is editing that image for you. It's applying colours and tones and trying to figure out the most pleasing way to present that image to you. And that's all we're doing, right? If we're shooting in RAW, we take it into Lightroom or Capture One or something, and we're editing that image and we're changing the colours and we're changing the warmth of the tone of the image. We're just doing the same thing, right? We're applying our own style and we're taking that raw data and information and then creating our version of it. Because it's not always what your eye sees, and certainly when you take a photo with your phone, that's not necessarily what your eye sees. You haven't got that sort of level of dynamic range that an iPhone 11 has or something like that, but we don't really complain and we don't really care about that. So yeah, I don't know, it's a complicated one, right? I don't think there's a yes or a no. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to this. But as always, I'd appreciate your input, your thoughts. Put it in the comments below. I will respond to them, I always do. I appreciate this video is a bit different, but I come across this every single day when I'm looking at photos and I'm looking at forums and groups and things. And we've all got our own approach to things, it seems. We've all got our version of what's acceptable and what's not. And yeah, I don't know if that changes with demographics, ages, and is there the new school versus the old school? And yeah, I don't know. Tell me what you think, and I'll see you again. Cheers.